for those of you who just joined us, my name is Fintan Murphy. We are co-hosting this webinar today with Cobry. Rowan, my colleague from Cobry, is going to introduce himself in a minute. And the product is Hiver, and we have with us a customer speaker, Daria, who's from Travelist by Secret Escape. And they're going to tell us a little bit about her experience with the product and how it's kind of helped her team. And Mike's going to give us an introduction to the product as well. Rowan, if you want to introduce yourself for the people who've just joined.
Hi everyone, I'm Rowan from Cobry. Excited to show you the Hiver tool today. And yeah, excited to hear from Daria and her experience with it too.
Cool. So we're going to hand straight over to Mike. Myself and Rowan will be monitoring the questions. So if people have questions during the webinar, please throw them into the Q&A section. We'll endeavour to answer them. And at the end, we're going to have a Q&A. So we'll be going through those and making sure that you get your questions answered. Okay. So we'll hand it over to Mike. We'll turn off our webcams and let Mike share his screen.
All right. Thank you very much, Fintan and Ron. Mike Benayoun here. I'm the VP of Business Development at Hiver, and very excited to be on this webinar with our UK partners, Damson Cloud and Cobry, as well as Daria from Travelist, who is going to share with us her experience and the experience of her team using Hiver and how it has really impacted on the business over there.
Hello.
So I will be, hi Daria. So I will be brief in terms of introducing Hiver as a company and a solution. I really want us to really spend a lot of time with Daria to really, again, share with us her experience. I think people can really relate on the customer experience and see how it has impacted her business. But Hiver has been in business for about 5 years now, and over the years we've been able to work with very small to very large organizations, really across industries. I mean, you'll see that Hiver is really a horizontal solution that can really address the needs of companies to manage the collaboration aspect of shared inboxes, really across functional teams and areas, whether it is in the travel or hospitality business, like Travelist, but also a number of other industries like logistics, retail, mentioned hospitality, but we also have a lot of customers in education, technology, you name it. I mean, like I said, it is really a horizontal product. And a lot of times what you'll see is we'll be able to, a team will come to us with a specific need, and it could be an operations team, it could be an HR team, it could be an account management team with a very specific needs. And typically the way it works is we are able to address the needs of that team, and then when they see the power of Hiver, it pretty much spreads from there within the organizations across other teams. And we'll talk about the different use cases for using Hiver, but this is really something I wanted to point out, is the fact that Hiver is not a solution that we typically deploy across an entire domain. A lot of times we'll work with companies that have very specific needs for a team, and then we will expand from there. So I just wanted to share with you a couple quotes from a couple very happy customers. One is Lonely Planet. You might know their guide. I have used them in the past for different trips. And the
Mike,
Lonely Planet.
Sorry to interrupt you, Mike. You're not sharing your screen, just in case you thought you were. I wasn't sure. Okay. I thought maybe you were doing an introduction first, so I didn't want to stop your flow. So
no, sorry about that. So let's. Yeah, I should have known that for the beginning. Again, sorry.
That's okay.
All right.
Can your camera still on? So if you want to turn your camera off, so it goes full screen on the presentation.
All right.
As I was saying to people earlier, so Mike's sorting that out. Myself and Ron are taking questions. So if people have questions, you can actually put them into the GoToWebinar solution. And we'll respond to those. Yeah, we can see your screen now. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Sorry about that.
You can leave the camera on if you want.
Yeah. So I just wanted to show you some of the clients that we work with. Like I said, in different industries. Again, you will recognize some names here of global larger clients like Veolia or Airbnb or Pinterest. Just wanted to share a couple quotes with you from organizations. One is Lonely Planet. Like I said, I have used their guides in the past. Their team over there is actually started with the legal team, and Kate Sullivan is actually one of their general counsel. They're using us for managing their contracts and collaborating on the redlining and reviewing of contracts. Flexport is actually, you might know them. They're a very, very fast growing logistics company. They raised about $1.3 billion with a B over the past few years, about 2,000 employees, and Flexport is really using us across the board. A lot of teams that are really operations focused are using us in different cities and different offices across the world. This is, again, one of our flagship customers that we've been working with for a little more than a year now. You know, a lot of times when organizations are looking for products, they are looking at reviews, they're looking at marketplaces. I highly encourage you to do that with us. We are obviously listed in different marketplaces, and just read the reviews for yourself. Those are from real customers. We are the highest rated sharing box solution for G Suite. So, you know, look at the reviews online and the experience of customers like Travelist and Daria, and you will see for yourself. So let's talk about the issue and how we are able to address the needs of organizations around email collaboration. We all use email, and as we all know, email is a great solution, but the problem is it has been designed for communication, but not really for collaboration. And that has been the case since, you know, the email started 30 years ago. The problem with emails is it's very difficult, if not impossible, to assign tasks to people without forwarding or CCing emails. And even when you do that, it amounts to clutter and confusion. So it's very difficult to understand who has worked on an email in the past. And it's also very difficult to understand who is working on an email that may not have been addressed or closed. So the best way to really collaborate on emails is really with the concept of shared inboxes. And depending on the platform vendor, whether it's Google, Microsoft, or others, they have been able to somewhat address the needs of shared inboxes, but in a limited fashion. But there's really a gap in those platforms, whether it's G Suite or Office 365, to really fully address the full management of the entire life cycle of shared inboxes and email threads, really allowing teams to collaborate and communicate on the management of those emails. And every single organization that every organization has a need for managing shared inboxes. What we have seen, and this is just an indicative number, is that for every 100 employees in an organization, you're going to see between 10 and 15 shared inboxes per 100 employee. So that's kind of what we've seen. It's going to change depending on industry and depending on organization, but there's always going to be a need for managing those shared inboxes. So for G Suite users in particular, what G Suite customers have been doing, they've been somewhat able to address those shared inboxes in a number of different fashions. One is by having different members of the team logging into the same account, the same inbox in Gmail. The other one is by using Google Groups as a distribution list. And the other one is by using something called Google Collaborative Inbox. The problem with those approaches is that it's broken. People don't really know what they have to work on. It's very difficult, if not impossible, to assign emails to specific people. Emails fall through the cracks, and that becomes very problematic, especially when you have externally facing types processes and shared inboxes where clients are expecting an answer with a specific SLA. There's a lack of ownership for sure in the management of these email threads, which introduces confusion and collision. So we have ways in Hiver to avoid this, and we'll talk briefly about that. And there's absolutely no reporting. In any of those solutions, there's absolutely no way for customers to understand how their processes are working, and more importantly, how you can actually improve on those processes. So at the end of the day, that's really what Hiver addresses. It addresses the needs of organizations to really collaborate, provide visibility and accountability to those processes by saying goodbye to alien interfaces. Hiver is really sitting on top of Gmail, which is actually key because customers do not have to use or to learn another tool, they have already deployed G Suite, they're already using Gmail, they're familiar with Gmail, and we act as a collaboration layer on top of Gmail so that you can really work from Gmail the way that you've always been working. And it takes really a few minutes to get started, not only from a user perspective, but also from a deployment perspective. You install a Chrome extension, and from the get-go, you can actually start using Hiver after configuring the solution, which literally takes minutes. There's additional configuration that you can do, and that's really where we and our partners like Cobry and Damson Cloud can help, is making sure that not only your Hiver solution is set up properly, but it is really mapping to your business requirements and processes. So I did not want to do a full demo on this webinar, and I highly encourage you to contact us and our partners so that we can dig deeper into your processes. But I know that people are visual, and it's always great to have to see the product and understand how it's working. So I just wanted to spend like 30 seconds to show you how it really integrates seamlessly into the Gmail experience. What you see here is my Gmail account. I'm logging to my personal inbox, and what you see here on the left side is we have added a layer of collaboration inside the Gmail UI to allow you to interact with the different shared inboxes. Here I am actually part of 4 different inboxes, one called demonstration, one called legal, partners, and support, and I can actually interact with those shared inboxes and collaborate with my colleagues on those inboxes and have access to all the emails that I have been assigned to, but also that my entire team is working on, giving me full visibility into the email threads that are still open, and also allowing me to collaborate on those emails, as you can see here on the right-hand side with the panel, which allows me to communicate and collaborate with my team members, as well as understand what has been, what my coworkers have been doing in the context of that particular email and email thread. Again, there's way more to it than this, but again, I just wanted to show you very briefly the UI and how it's working, and we're more than happy to schedule a follow-up demonstration with each of you. Let's go back to presenting the slide deck. This time it's working, I'm showing my screen. And the last thing I wanted to finish with before we hand it over to Daria is, I know we have a lot of IT people on the call, so just wanted to share with you that we are certified in a number of different areas. We're actually working and finalizing our SOC 2 Type 2 compliance, which will be compliant with probably in the next few weeks. But for European customers, and we have obviously a lot of European customers on the call, we also abide to the privacy shields in the EU, and we are GDPR ready. So with that said, I'm going to hand it over to Daria, who is going to share with us her experience with Hiver and how it has really helped her team improve on their processes. Daria, over to you.
Hello, my name is Daria, and I'm a data processing coordinator at Travelist. And in today's webinar, as Mike said, I'm going to tell you a few words about Travelist, my team, and how Hiver help us to put things in order in our daily work. So about Travelist, it is the first online travel club in Poland. It is offering its members ideas for a holiday. In 2014, we became a part of the International Secret Escapes Group, which is now one of the world leaders in online tourism. The group operates in 21 countries around the world, Spain, USA, Germany, or Hungary. Data processing team is an internal department and a part of a bigger operations team. And as a team, we are responsible for tasks related to entering, updating, processing, and optimizing data, which are related to the offers presented on Travelist. The team works closely with employees of the sales department and processing the received data of offers and entering them into the system in accordance with established procedures. We also work closely with other teams who are involved in production process, like sales support or editorial. And now I will tell you about challenges which we were struggling before we had Hiver. And first of all, from the beginning, whole team was working on one Gmail mailbox. So there was no possibility to assign an email to a team member. Our solution to this problem were labels in Gmail. Every member of the team have had a label with his name. And at the moment when he started to deal with an email, he needed to add his label. It wasn't a bad solution, but it required attention and remembering about adding it. And also there was a problem with replying to emails, because every time someone wrote something in the thread, at the end of the email, he needed to sign with his name. So the other people knew who is dealing with this offer. The other problem in using normal Gmail mailbox was no possibility of getting any analytics. Sure, there are some add-ons which make analytics to a mailbox, but we weren't able to measure, for example, response times or numbers from labels. And as it comes to a view of the mailbox, everything was unclear. We were using many labels, not only for with our names, but also with quick info if the offer from an email is already arrived, or maybe it is waiting for approval from sales. And in one list, we had emails which were started by someone, and also there were the new ones. Another important problem concerned duplication of work. At least one time a day, two people dealt with one email because someone forgot to add label with his name at the beginning. Now I would like to tell you what results we have since using Hiver. We can measure the workload thanks to Hiver through over a period of months, weeks, or every day. And as I said earlier, we weren't able to measure our response time or workload and any other important for us numbers. Thanks to Hiver and its analytics, we have set up KPIs in our team. We can measure first response time, resolve time, and workload. And it is great that everything is really clear and we can see how these numbers look through weeks or months. When statistics are below expectations, it is easier to go deeper and find the reason for it, so we can still improve our work. And I would like you to show two charts. This chart presents our time to first response and resolve time. And as you can see in both cases, there is a downward trend from January this year. And it is caused by team members' awareness that this is important for comfort of other teams who closely cooperate with us. And the progress which we made and actually still doing is amazing, because now we are able to respond other teams more than half faster. The second chart presents workload of our team. And thanks to this, we are able to analyze and summarize previous months and also predict workload for next months. And Travelist has these high seasons and low seasons. And with the overview through the whole year, We can see which months are our high season, so I know when we need to have the biggest capacity. Also, I would like to tell you about the opportunities at Travelist. We have introduced Hiver to the sales support team, and because it is very similar team to data processing, they have even more emails because they have also contact with hotels which are presented on our site. They had a lot of problem with dealing these emails, so we proposed them Hiver, and they are still in process of customization Hiver for their needs, but it looks that it really helped them. And also, this is quite funny story because I was invited to a call with HR director from Secret Escapes, and she wanted to show us some kind of ticket system because it worked for them. She showed me it, and it was really simple, but didn't have some basic options. So I told her that I can show her ours because it has more options and possibilities to customize it for your own needs. And now they are using Hiver, so that's great. And we also would like to introduce Hiver in other teams which are taking part in production process. And that's all from me. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Daria. I really appreciate you sharing your experience, and it's great to see that, as I was mentioning earlier, it often starts with addressing the needs of one team like yours, and as you see the improvement in your processes, then it really opens the door to other teams to look at the power of Hiver, sometimes in very different areas like HR, which has nothing to do with your team, but it's great to see that other teams are looking at how Hiver can help them. And that's actually a good segue. I know we have a lot of people on the call that are more from the IT side of the house, and a lot of times you actually receive the request from your end users internally to potentially suggest some tools or solutions like Hiver to help them. So I'm really going to breeze through some of those slides, and we'll more than happy to share the deck with you after the call. I also want to leave a few minutes for Q&A. But what I wanted to do with those few slides is really to give you some ideas for the people, again, on the call that have a broader view of the organizations to understand where Hiver can actually help, give you some ideas of different teams and functional areas where Hiver can help. So one area that we've seen a lot is obviously support teams, whatever they are. It could be a typical IT support desk, but it could be other teams that deal with sometimes a higher volume of email requests that are coming in a lot of times from the outside, but also sometimes internally. So help at, info at, and so on. As we have seen, and as Daria has shared with us, this is really turning your inbox, your Gmail inbox, into a full-on help desk, but again, without having to log into a separate UI or separate solution, allowing you to assign specific tasks to different members of your team, enforcing some SLAs to make sure that nothing falls through the cracks, and at the end of the day, making your team members and your agents more efficient and more productive, being able to handle a higher volume of requests with the same number of people on the team. Another area where we have seen a lot of interest is for finance or HR teams. Processes like payroll, accounts payable, accounts receivable, billing, or renewal type processes are really an area where Hiver can add a lot of value. Again, giving every email the ability to have an owner and status, increasing the visibility into the emails, but also the conversations around those emails. Being able to monitor the emails and not only making sure that they are being addressed, but also making sure that they are being addressed in a timely manner. And I know Daria talked about that, the fact that without a solution like Hiver, it's sometimes difficult or always difficult to tag or categorize the emails because not every email is going to be the same, right? So you're going to have a need to categorize those emails so that you can filter them, but also analyze them down the road with the ability to slice and dice the reports based on those tags that again are being shared across the team. So those tags and those categorization are not something that you handle in your personal inbox, but those are really shared for the entire team. Another area that we've seen a lot is any kind of processes that deal with clients and account management teams in general, whether it's customer success, VIP support, and so on. Again, especially when it's an externally facing type of process, the point here is really to make sure that you do not leave the customers waiting, because that really impacts in the customer experience and the image of your brand as a whole. Being able to capture the information and also giving visibility into it for the entire team, and really at the end of the day helping your team collaborate more effectively behind the scenes without having to involve the customer throughout the life cycle of the email thread or email request. And last but not least, operations team. So operations really can mean a lot of things to different organizations, depending on your vertical or your specific company. It could be anything from contracts to delivery services, fulfillment, deployment. In the education space, for example, it could be an admission process or a grant award. We see that a lot. So again, it's a very kind of wider theme for the type of processes that we deal with. But it's really similar type of challenges that we address, making sure that you do not drop the ball on any request, which in a lot of cases for operations processes are critical, mission critical for the organization. Maintaining the project information contextual alongside the emails without any clutter or confusion, and really track the progress from a project management perspective in making sure that those email requests and tickets are really being followed and addressed in a timely manner. So I know we have maybe a few questions. We have a couple more minutes before the end of the webinar. Again, I highly encourage you to either ask questions in the question box or contact us after the webinar so that we can do a customized demo with you and understand your needs, and at the same time answer any questions you may have. Fintan, Ron, do we have any questions on the line?
Actually, Mike, there's an issue. We can't see all of the questions. If you could upgrade us to an organizer, we'll be able to see that. But we do have a couple lined up for yourself and Daria. So I'm just going to ask Daria a couple of questions while maybe you organize that. Daria, one of the things I was actually quite interested in, and it was great to hear you share your story. I was interested to know how long it kind of took for your team to ramp up in terms of the learning curve, because that was something that Mike was saying. Compared to other solutions, I think one of the benefits obviously is that it's within the Gmail inbox. So what was it like for your own team to kind of ramp up on that?
Well, Hiver is quite simple, so I think that people didn't have problem to get used to this new look of our mailbox. Also, these labels and tags are similar to the ones from Gmail, so it was easy to move the old ones to Hiver and create also the new ones. So there wasn't a big problem.
Cool, that's great. Ron, I think you had a question for...
Yeah, so just sort of as a follow-up to Fintan's question there, you said that it was fairly simple to get started and the team were able to get using it quite quickly, but was there any problems or challenges that you faced at all? And if so, how did the team overcome them?
Maybe the only one challenging issue was creating analytics, but it wasn't caused by Hiver's unclear view of it or something like that. We just had to find out what numbers we can get from Hiver and then establish what we want to measure. And I think that we had a good way of introducing Hiver to the team. At first, only one team member was working on shared mailbox and was testing Hiver's abilities and comparing it to our needs. And it was the time when we were customizing Hiver, and every now and then we were adding more team members, so it wasn't a sudden change. I think that also this thing helped.
Cool. One for yourself, Mike. What are the top 3 kind of use cases that you see companies using Hiver internally? So in terms of teams, I think you kind of covered some of that, but I think it's just an important one to kind of cover off for people.
Yeah, actually, yeah, I kind of covered that, and I actually picked the ones that that we see the most. I would say for smaller organizations, I would say you know, the typical support type process is something that we see a lot. Because there's really a need to have a simple UI, simple solution to deploy. What we see a lot is any kind of externally facing type processes that involve clients. So it could be account management, customer success, sometimes, you know, the delivery team in terms of post-sales type support, not really support, typical IT support, but more like you know, a typical customer success or account management
support. Yeah, the kind of customer support stuff. I think HR as well is an interesting one. I know that's what our customers have primarily used it for. I think that makes a lot of sense. It's sort of an
internal help desk almost.
Yeah, an internal sort of support desk. I think it's interesting. There are so many reasons customers need shared inboxes, and it's so limiting within the Google solution for all of the reasons that we've all kind of gone.
HR and finance are really that we see a lot. One reason is they don't really have the time nor the desire to learn yet another solution. They already deal with, you know, other solutions that are, you know, whether it's HR systems or ERPs, and the last thing they want is to yet have to use another solution for you know, for handling shared inboxes. So they use Hiver because it's simple to use. It really, again, it's a seamless integration to their Gmail experience. And most of the time, I would argue that all of us on the call here, you know, information workers that sit at our desk a lot, we spend probably 90% of our time when we sit at our desk dealing with emails anyway. And the last thing we want is to have to log, you know, step out of email and use yet another solution.
And enter another solution, yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
We saw some really nice graphs from Daria in her part of the sort of presentation, but maybe Mike, you can touch a little bit more on the analytics that Hiver provides and some of the different options you've got there.
Yeah, absolutely. So and again, we're more than happy to show the power of Hiver and delve deeper into this functionality. But in a nutshell, again, it's within the Gmail interface. We provide some out-of-the-box reports around really digging deeper into some areas, whether it's slicing and dicing the information per user, per member of the team, per tag. Like I said, different email requests are gonna be addressed differently, whether it's per product, per type of request, per priority of customer. You might have some different customers at different tiers, and you may want to have different SLAs depending on the tiers. So that's how you can use tags and how you can actually report separately depending on how you have applied tags to different requests. So all of these reports are actually available to you via the interface. But in addition to that, we give you the ability to export any kind of data that gives you the power to actually correlate that information with information that may come from outside Hiver. So you could actually have the ability to, with ERP systems or HR or other systems that allows you to really further correlate the information and find more insight into and give you some ideas of how to improve your existing processes.
I think that the analytics stuff I think was really good. It was something that Daria had mentioned when we were first talking about this. I know you didn't do a full demo, but you kind of showed us the interface briefly, and I think that's really good just to give people some context. That it is part of the Gmail solution. But I think it was an interesting thought that I had was around Google Groups, and that's often what customers are currently using, or maybe they're using a Google account. I think it'd be interesting for viewers to know where are they coming from. Is that an additional Google account, or is that a Google group? Can you sync your Google groups? I think that would be an interesting one for each
Yeah.
Vinter.
So that's a very good question. So we're at the end of the day, we are a Google partner. We have designed a solution for G Suite, and we are not disrupting anything from a G Suite perspective. What it means is that if you have been using a Google group or an actual Gmail inbox, we can just sit on top of this setup and really leverage what you have already used and set up in order to provide you with all the features that Hiver provides. So there's no separate setup in Google. If you are using a Google group, we're just going to use that Google group and just provide you with all the Hiver collaboration capabilities on top of that.
Cool, that's great. Well, I think we've gone a little bit over, but I think we did fairly well. So I think really just to end, just to say thanks to Daria for coming on and speaking to everybody about your own experience. I think that's really, for me, is learning from the customer is really the most valuable thing. You're very valuable as well, Mike, but I think it's really important. And for Mike to
I just want to make sure that we address. There was one last question from Dan O'Sullivan. We're not ignoring a question. So there was a question about licensing, how it's done. I know I did not cover that. We're more than happy to delve deeper into that separately. But just to give you an idea of the model, it is actually priced per user. So user who is actually going to use Hiver, a member of the team. So if you have a team of 10 people, you're going to need 10 licenses. And then you have different tiers of pricing depending on how many shared inboxes you have. So if it's up to 2, you have a plan. If it's up to 10, you have another plan, and so on. But at the end of the day, the model for pricing is based on per user pricing. So
which is fairly common with, which is fairly common with Google solutions such as yourselves. Is there any information or links or things you want to leave people with?
So what we'll do is we'll follow up, with everybody who registered and attended the webinar. We will share the deck. We will share a couple additional links. And yes, if you need more information or if you'd like to schedule a one-on-one demo with us, feel free to either start a trial on your own following that link. Again, it will be shared in the deck, or you can reach me directly at mike@hiverhq.com, and we'll make sure to involve the parties and our partners to the call to make sure that we provide you with the best experience in evaluating Hiver and deploying Hiver for your team.
Cool, that's great, Mike. Thanks very much. And I just want to say thanks again to Ron and Cobry, because I think it's not often that partners are able to work together. You know, we're technically competitors often on other opportunities, but it's great to see this. Do you know what I mean? Friendly competitors. But it's great to be able to do this and to see more of this within the ecosystem. So.
Likewise, and thanks, Daria, especially for giving your input. That was really nice to hear from a customer perspective.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks again, guys. Thanks so much, Daria. Thanks again for everyone who attended. We will follow up with you. We'll share the information, and have a good rest of the day. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.